Most runners want to have the endurance to run longer without burning out. Building an aerobic base is the foundation. It's one of the first steps for me, so that way I can compete in races and not burn out before the end of it. Heart rate training is where you're going to be spending 70 to 85% of your total training time at a low heart rate, under your zone 3. Listen, you're going to be faster, you're going to be more energetic throughout the day, you're going to be able to have more, you're going to be metabolically fitter, and you'll be able to fuel your runs using your fat as a fuel source. So what is zone 2 training? Zone 2 training is a heart rate zone out of 5 different zones. Number 1, zone 1 is your recovery. Zone 2 is the pace that you can run for a long period of time. It's your aerobic zone. It's where you build your aerobic base. So that way you can run for a longer distance at a slow heart rate. It works extremely well. Zone 3, that's typically where I have my race pace, right, when I'm running a marathon. It's steady fast, but it's something that I can kind of keep going to be able to complete a marathon or a half marathon. When you go into zone 4 and zone 5, those are really high anaerobic paces. That's kind of where you're doing your 400 meter repeats, 800, whether you're running a 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, or even an ultra marathon. This works extremely well. If you're looking to lose weight, if you're looking to go those longer distances, and if you're looking to build an aerobic base and do your best to stay injury free, all while accomplishing that, then this is zone 2. My name's David, I'm the plant powered runner, and I've run 10Ks, half marathons, marathons, and yes, I've run an ultra marathon. And I've used zone 2 training for a lot of my accomplishments. So I essentially look at zone 2 training as building a house. You want to make sure that you have a strong foundation before you start building the next levels. Now there are a couple of ways that you can figure out your training zones. And the first one that I've used that's worked well is the Maffetone method, right? Take 180 minus your age, you make some adjustments based on your lifestyle, and then you come up with your heart rate, and that's what you're going to be running for basically all of your runs. Now it is a general number and it may not work for everybody because everybody is different. Specifically, if you're older, 55 is when you kind of have to start playing around with it a little bit to kind of figure out exactly where you are. Because some of you may be well trained, some of you may be just starting out. You could go out and do a field test by running a warm-up, 2-kilometer tempo run, followed by 400 meters all out, and lastly, doing it all over again in a 400-meter effort with a progression every single 100 meters to get their highest heart rate possible. The Kevarvan method, which uses my maximum heart rate and my resting heart rate to dial in your heart rate zone. The Kevarvan method is a popular method for determining heart rate training zones, and it involves using a formula. Target heart rate equals maximum heart rate minus resting heart rate times intensity plus resting heart rate. The Kevarvan method is based on the idea that the best way to train is to work at an intensity that is relative to the individual's level by taking into account your resting heart rate and your maximum heart rate. The Kevarvan method can help you determine the ideal intensity of your training type. You will want to customize your zones to reflect so. So go and do a max heart rate test like I mentioned before. Then you'll need to sleep with a watch that has a heart rate monitor on it for a few nights to find your lowest heart rate. Then take your maximum heart rate from the maximum heart rate test, then your lowest possible heart rate overnight while you've been sleeping. Put that in the Kevarvan calculator right here, and it uses a formula to calculate your exact zones. Now here's the thing, you'll have to trust those zones even if it's hard for you to stay under the numbers. Remember, you're building a base first, then you can move on to 80-20 training. Go and get tested in a lab they can do a lactate test, and that may not be as accurate as a lot of people think. I haven't done it, but I've heard people talk about having to go back a second time to do it all over again because they got inconclusive results. And in Canada, that's not cheap. I think it's like anywhere from $200 to $500 for this particular test. Other places in the US may be more, and in Europe, I'm not too sure. Maybe comment below and let me know what a test like this would be, how much it would cost in your country. That'd be kind of cool to know. The problem with perceived effort is everybody is different. In a lot of cases, people really don't know what that really means when it comes to pace and how you should be breathing. Sometimes people take liberties at how fast they're running, thinking it's, you know, that's nice perceived effort. Look, there's no perfect way except what these elite athletes do. And look, if you're watching my channel and you're definitely not an elite athlete. Not that I know of. Maybe you're watching it because you want to see what these crazy Canadians do. But look, all joking aside, perceived effort is exactly what it is. It's perceived, and it's different for everybody, so it may not be very accurate. However, it can be fun because you may actually add a few more beats on to make you run. Specifically, if you really can't run and you're walking, that could make all the difference. To make sure that you're successful in zone 2 training is you gotta know that technology can fail from time to time. So your heart rate may be different from watch to watch, right? From Coros to Garmin to Polar. And we have different heart rate monitors. We have straps that go on our arm these days. We have chest straps. So everyone is going to be different. So just know there may be a variant between, 1 and 3 beats. Temperature will affect your running. Specifically when you're training by heart rate, because your body is trying to cool itself down. And I'll tell you, no 2 days are the same if you're in a climate like mine. One day it can be cool, next day scorching hot with high humidity. So take weather with a grain of salt, because if you're running into hurricane force winds, well, you need to take cover. Cardiac drift happens when your body starts to get dehydrated and the blood starts to thicken. It's harder to kind of move through your blood vessels. So to get your oxygen to your muscles, it has to pump harder to get it through. Unless you deal with your dehydration and cool yourself down, your heart rate will continue to rise. And if it does, you're gonna have to slow down. Now, for all you coffee lovers out there, such as myself, having coffee is fine, but just know that everybody is different when it comes to the cup of joe. Caffeine is a stimulant, and everybody reacts differently to caffeine. And I know for me, my heart rate can rise sometimes by 10 beats a minute if I have caffeine. So maybe save that for after your run. specifically if you're using heart rate training. Now this can be very discouraging for a few of you because you may have gone your whole life without really building an aerobic base. I know that I was running with one of my subscribers the other week.
I said to you earlier on that I've been running for 61 years.
Yeah.
But it's only in the last 3 or 4 years that I've learned to slow down, build an aerobic base. Time and feet, as you say. But I forgot about that.
He was from the UK and he never really did any aerobic base training. No Zone 2 training. He just thought he had to run fast all the time. And it has consequences, from injuries to adrenal fatigue. These things are real. So you just want to be mindful of building that house. You don't start on the second story. If you live in a hilly area, well, this one's for you. Hills are great for training, but when you are training using heart rate, going up a hill, your heart rate rises. We're not new to that fact, unless you just started running. But hill repeats are fantastic to fit into your training, but not when you're really doing Zone 2 training, because really you're just walking. Walking is great, but if you want to run, well, it's a whole other ball game. So be careful when trying to find a particular training route to do these long, easy, slow Zone 2 runs. When you're running in Zone 2, you want to stick to your heart rate zone for Zone 2. You don't want to be running above it, and you don't want to be running below it. You want to be right in that middle, probably more to the upper end. Look, I'm no coach, I'm no physiologist, I'm no doctor or anything like that. I'm just a runner trying to improve my fitness, running low heart rate. This method works. Now, to see results from this type of training, you have to be consistent. Like, you can't go out and run like 1 or 2 days a week and then take a week off and then run 3 days the next week, maybe only half-an-hour runs. Like, you're not going to see the results that you specifically would like to see. So slow it down, come up with a schedule that you can keep and be consistent at it. And having a goal is going to make all the difference, because if you have a goal race or a goal weight or a goal distance or whatever, it does help with that consistency, because you have a why, and if it's big enough, you'll be able to endure anyhow.
Trying to find some balance in my life, but I never really put up a fight. Didn't follow my dreams, and now I'm losing sleep. What if I lost touch? What if I'll never get it right? I try to follow my heart.
Zone 2 training does help with overtraining, because you can overtrain using Zone 2, and you can also undertrain using Zone 2.